Imagine Dolly Parton, rhinestones, wigs, infectious warmth. But behind that sparkle, fierce self-respect. Dolly didn't shy from conflict, she simply refused to tolerate disrespect. From celebrity friends who overstepped, to reporters who weaponized curiosity, to critics dismissing her genius, these individuals pressed her limits. And Dolly, she didn't scream or posture, she responded with grace or closed the door for good. Hold on to your hat, because even the sweetest apple can spit when provoked. Let's start with the friend she felt betrayed her trust. On paper, it was the perfect friendship. Dolly Parton, America's sweetheart. Jim Nabors, the lovable goof from Gomer Pyle, USMC, both country-rooted, both blessed with powerful pipes, both darlings of the TV variety show era. But behind the camera, Dolly would later reveal, not all sweetness stays sweet. The two met in the 1970s during a flurry of musical guest appearances and Southern Charm crossovers. They shared stages, screen time, and a mutual appreciation for gospel and humor. But as Dolly's star exploded, she began to notice something off. Neighbors, who had a reputation for behind-the-scenes intensity, started to get too close, too fast. What Dolly once called friendly affection turned into lingering hugs, possessive behavior, and inappropriate jokes. He got a little greedy with the closeness, Dolly later said. She didn't go into details. She never needed to. The phrasing said it all. It wasn't scandalous, it wasn't violent, it was just disrespectful. Dolly values loyalty. But even more than that, boundaries. And Jim crossed them. When she declined his invitations or pulled back emotionally, Neighbors didn't take it well. He pushed harder, called more. She started avoiding him at events. Eventually, she stopped returning calls altogether. In later years, Dolly was asked about their friendship. She gave the classic Dolly response, warm, classy, but distant. "I'll always wish him well," she said once in an interview, then quickly changed the subject. That's how Dolly operates. She doesn't torch bridges, she just removes the path. And when someone violates her trust, even with a smile, they get no second chance. Because Dolly Parton may glitter like rhinestones, but cross her the wrong way. And you'll learn real quick. She's got barbed wire under all that lace. And if you think that made her uncomfortable, just wait until the day a reporter tried to tear her down on live television. Barbara Walters was known for getting personal, but with Dolly Parton, she didn't just get personal. She got insulting. It was 1977. Dolly was riding high off chart-topping singles and TV appearances. Then came a sit-down interview with Barbara Walters, an icon in her own right. But instead of talking music, legacy, or artistry, Barbara went straight for the jugular. She grilled Dolly about her clothes, her breasts, her accent. Walters called her look ridiculous, asked if she was a joke. And when Dolly responded with her usual charm, Barbara pushed harder, probing her intelligence, her authenticity, her worth. Dolly smiled through it, but inside she never forgot. Later, Dolly reflected, "I knew what she was doing, but I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction." She didn't bite, she didn't storm off, she just outclassed her. And in doing so, she flipped the power dynamic on national television. Barbara had come to bury her. Dolly walked away with more fans than ever. But behind the scenes, Dolly never gave her a second shot. No follow-ups, no reunions, just a polite, permanent goodbye. Because Dolly doesn't need to scream to end a relationship, she just doesn't come back. And if you think media criticism was cold, wait until you meet the critic who dismissed her songwriting entirely. Dolly Parton has written over 3,000 songs. She penned Jolene and I Will Always Love You on the same day. She's been covered by Whitney, Cher, even Beyoncé. But that didn't stop one critic from brushing her aside, like her catalogue didn't matter. In a 2022 interview, Wilco frontman Jeff Tweedy made headlines when he said he didn't get Dolly's songwriting. He claimed he found her lyrics a bit obvious and questioned whether she was really one of the greats. Fans weren't just shocked, they were furious. Dolly, she didn't clap back, she never does. Instead, she let her work speak for itself. That same year, she was nominated and later inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, a move Tweedy had publicly questioned. He said Dolly wasn't rock. She said, "Then I'll make a rock album." And she did. She didn't mention him, didn't tag him. She just went to the studio, crafted Rockstar, and brought in legends like Paul McCartney and Stevie Nicks to finish the job. Because that's Dolly's way. She doesn't argue with doubters, she outlasts them. And when someone questions her worth, she multiplies it. But if you think critics made her mad, just wait until you hear how her longtime mentor tried to own her voice. Before she was a solo superstar, Dolly Parton was Porter Wagoner's protégé. She joined his hit television show in 1967, young, brilliant, and grateful. But as her star rose, so did the tension. Wagoner gave her exposure, but he also tried to claim ownership. He wanted her loyalty, her silence, her shadow. He wouldn't let her sing what she wanted. He didn't want her to leave. And when she told him it was time, he didn't say goodbye. He sued her. Dolly offered him money, rights, and grace, but he wanted control. She later said, "It broke my heart to leave, but it would have broken my spirit to stay." Her pain poured into "I Will Always Love You," a farewell letter disguised as a love song. It became one of the most iconic ballads in music history. He got the message, but still sued her for $3 million, claiming breach of contract. Eventually, they made peace. She visited him on his deathbed. She even sang at his funeral, but Dolly never denied the hurt, never forgot the weight of being someone's discovery and someone's possession. She left Porter not in anger, but in freedom, because Dolly doesn't hate loudly, she just walks away with the hit song. And if you thought Porter was the only man who boxed her in, you haven't met the critics who tried to trap her in rhinestones and labels. Dolly Parton was always too much, for the wrong kind of people. Too country for pop, too pop for country, too glittery, too feminine, too Dolly. From the start, critics couldn't figure her out. She wore wigs, heels, and rhinestones, but wrote songs with aching honesty. They wanted her to pick a lane. She paved her own. When she crossed into pop with "Here You Come Again," Nashville sneered. They said she sold out. They said she turned her back on her roots. She didn't argue. She just took the Grammy. She dabbled in bluegrass, recorded gospel, voiced animated specials, created Dollywood, and still critics tried to define her worth by genre. But Dolly knew, you can't put a price on being yourself. She was mocked for her image until that image became iconic, dismissed for her voice until that voice sold 100 million records. She was never just a country singer, never just anything. She was and is everything. And when the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame called, the purists roared again. Dolly. She thanked them, then made a rock album just to prove a point. Because Dolly Parton doesn't follow categories, she crushes them in stilettos and writes a song on top. And if you thought the critics had her cornered, wait until you hear what she did with every insult ever thrown her way. Some songs don't just chart. They change the course of music. "I Will Always Love You" is one of those songs. Dolly wrote it. Whitney Houston immortalized it. It broke records, crossed genres, and touched generations. But not everyone got the memo. In 2022, Wilco frontman Jeff Tweedy made headlines when he publicly questioned Dolly's songwriting legacy. He admitted, "I don't really get the hype about 'I Will Always Love You.' He said it was too simple, too obvious, and not particularly interesting." For a moment, critics and fans alike were stunned. Dolly didn't respond with venom. She didn't name drop. She didn't tweet a takedown. Instead, she did what Dolly always does. She made more music, wrote more truth, and kept her crown perfectly untouched. While Tweedy argued structure, Dolly let the numbers speak. Over 10 million copies sold, covered by the greatest voice of a generation, inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. It's not about the complexity, it's about the connection. And when one critic couldn't see that, Dolly didn't get mad, she just kept singing. Because a legend doesn't explain her genius, she lets the world catch up. Dolly Parton may be made of glitter and grace, but make no mistake, she's tough as nails. She doesn't scream, she doesn't cancel, she doesn't need revenge. She remembers, she removes, and then she writes a hit about it. Every man who tried to control her, every critic who underestimated her, every so-called friend who crossed the line, they all became footnotes in a story only she got to write. Because Dolly Parton doesn't fight dirty, she fights back with melody, memory, and million-dollar moves. Thanks for watching Legends Unfiltered, where icons don't hold grudges, they hold the mic.